Hey Aries, welcome to your weekly forecast for January 10 through the 17th. Now, you may happen to stumble upon this video outside of the dates that I just mentioned. Don't you worry your pretty little head. You found it whenever you are meant to find it. So, you're going to find it when it's time for you to hear the messages. Keep in mind that this is a general reading for the Aries collective. Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So not every single message is going to resonate with you, and that's okay. Take what does, leave what doesn't. You may need a personal reading, but whatever the case may be, there's something for you here in this reading. We're going to connect and see what messages are coming up for the Aries collective, Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. One more shuffle. All right, my dears, let's get right on into it and see what messages we have for Aries. All right, my dears, the first card we have coming up here is the Hanged Man. Now, I know a lot of people are not happy to see the Hanged Man when it comes up because they feel bummed out, like, oh, nothing's happening, nothing's going on. But there's a couple of things they forget about the Hanged Man. First and foremost, it's a major arcana card. The major arcana cards are always going to come up when the situation we're dealing with, the situation that we're currently in right now, is directly connected to something we came here to learn, something we came here to master, something we came here to accomplish. We have a lot of wiggle room in our life, right? That's why a lot of spiritual teachers will talk about manifesting and manifestation. We have a lot of room to create in our life, but we each have these little crossroads or these little turning points or these specific chapters that we came here agreeing to experience, right? We have a lot of wiggle room in between those, but there are certain things we came here to learn, certain ways we came here to grow, certain journeys that, we came here to have our own little journeys. And so the major arcana cards tell us that these are those moments for us. And the Hanged Man is about a couple of things. It's about seeing things from a different perspective. Like Spirit is trying to help us see something we've been missing, maybe kind of slowing things down, maybe giving us a little bit of a cosmic timeout, not as a punishment, not because you're naughty, but because you need a little bit of a breather to take a moment and look at the bigger picture and catch some things that maybe you've been missing. For other people, the Hanged Man can be coming up as a little bit of a downtime, a slow time, because Spirit feels that you're making some super unnecessary sacrifices right now. You might be giving up certain aspects of yourself or certain dreams or certain goals, or you may be making certain sacrifices that Spirit is saying you shouldn't have to make these sacrifices. It's not fair that you're making these sacrifices. Something about the circumstances might be a little bit off. You may be making sacrifices and, kind of bending over backwards or putting yourself in difficult situations for employers or people that maybe, I'm sorry to say, don't deserve it. Or aren't being honest or truthful with you, or you're just not believing in yourself enough, so you're making certain sacrifices that your angels and guides are trying to tell you, Aries, you shouldn't be making these sacrifices. You shouldn't have to be making these sacrifices. So it's going to be different for different ones of you. One more thing I do want to say about this card before we move on to the other cards. Now, you need to keep in mind that we are coming up on a full moon the following week, the week after this reading is intended for, but sometimes we'll pick up on those moon energies about 3 days before. So even though there isn't a full moon this week, as we come in towards the mid to the end of the week, some of you Aries might be a little bit more sensitive to this particular full moon that's coming in, and you may be beginning your clearing process a little bit early, because the full moon is a time that we just kind of very naturally release. And for me, sometimes the Hangman comes up in readings to say that Spirit is putting you on a little bit of a timeout because you've released a lot of blocks, you've released a lot of stagnant energy, and you're about to manifest. Like there's this traffic jam of manifestations that you've been putting out to the universe that just really haven't been coming in because of certain limited beliefs or certain blocks. And now those blocks and those limited beliefs are out of the way. And so this little traffic jam of wishes or visualizations can come true. But some of these things that you've been putting out there for a long time, you've been putting out on autopilot. You've outgrown it. You don't even really want it anymore. You're just in the habit of putting it out there, or you're subconsciously, repetitively putting it out there on autopilot without realizing. And it's as if you're putting out into the universe your Christmas wish list from when you were 4 years old. Sure, some of those things might hold some nostalgia, some sentimental value, but really at the end of the day, it's not what you want anymore, and it's not going to serve you. So sometimes the Hangman comes up for me in my readings when you're going through a massive clearing. You're going through like this massive unblocking, and you're about to have all of these things manifesting or coming in, taking shape. And Spirit is saying, take a moment here and double check your order, because we know, your angels and guides know, that some of these things aren't going to make you happy. You've outgrown it, but you're kind of putting it out there as like a habit, or you're wanting it because somebody else is pressuring you to have it. But it's not really what you want. It's what you're being told you should want, or what you're being told is going to make you successful. But in your heart of hearts, it's not really what you want. So Aries, this is going to be a good time for a lot of you to do some self-reflection this week. Take some time, set aside some time, maybe take a bath if you can, or just a nice long shower. And just kind of, clear yourself, if you want to light your candles or incense, or your, if you want to sage yourself, or, do something that you do specifically for your grounding and clearing, or if you want to look up grounding and clearing meditations, it might be a good idea to do a little bit of that, and then follow it up with some journaling, and just write out your thoughts, write out your feelings, like kind of check in with yourself. What do you want? What do you feel like you're in need of in your life? And what are the things that you just feel like is taking up space that you just are ready to release or let go? It's all inside of you. You're just so busy with the hustle and bustle that you haven't had the time or the chance to ask yourself. So this is a good week to ask yourself, okay? The next card coming in for you guys is the Hermit. Now, when I have major arcana cards coming in back to back like that on top of each other, it's telling me a really big shift, really big changes in a very short period of time. And because we have the Hermit card here, this can obviously indicate that there could be a Virgo influence for some of you. If you have a Virgo placement, there can be big changes and big shifts happening for you in those houses or in those areas of your lives. Some of you could be dealing with a Virgo, or you're having to make a decision. You might be finding yourself at a crossroads with a Virgo, whether it's family, romantic, or in terms of career. I know a lot of people are used to watching tarot for love and romance. On my channel, in the weekly forecasts, I like to focus on you. I want it to be about you and your journey. I don't have anything against love. I'm not looking down on love in any way. I do love readings once a month on my channel. Those are linked in the description if you want to check out the January love readings. But in the weekly forecasts, I want it to be about you. So when we're talking about you, Aries, the Hanged Man coming up here with the Hermit card next to it gives me the feeling in the sense that a lot of you are not giving yourself enough credit for where you are right now in your life. Okay, one of my dearest, closest friends is an Aries, and I love her and I adore her. And other Aries that I have known in my life, I'm not trying to stereotype. I'm not saying all Aries are one specific way, but the Aries that I have known have always been big dreamers. They've been very ambitious. They don't make excuses for themselves. They don't feel sorry for themselves. They set their minds to something and they don't rest until they get it. And that is a beautiful thing. It's a very, powerful aspect of the Aries energy. But the downside of that is sometimes you might forget to give yourself credit for what you've done so far. You haven't given yourself credit to take in your accomplishments, to give yourself a great big pat on the back and say, you know what, Aries, you sure came out of quite a wreck, right? You sure came out of quite a tragedy. You sure came out of some very different obstacles or difficulties. And look at where you are right now. You're not giving yourself enough credit. Because the Hermit card for me, yes, there's the traditional aspect of the Hermit card of the spiritual awakening, stepping onto your path as a spiritual teacher, or seeking out a spiritual teacher, or kind of going inward. Like we talked about, this would be a good week for self-reflection. The Hermit card would definitely be that energy of going inward, spending some quiet downtime alone. But also for me, the Hermit card in my readings has a feeling and a sense of that little caterpillar that is in the cocoon, right? A lot of you are like saying, I need to heal, I need to heal, I need to heal. And Spirit is saying you're not giving yourself credit for how much you've healed until now. Healing is a lifelong thing, right? It never 100% ends. Obviously, the further we are on our journey, at some point, healing becomes more of a maintenance thing, right? The same way you have physical hygiene and spiritual hygiene, you may have this emotional hygiene, right, that you keep up with, right? But you're not giving yourself enough credit for where you are right now. And for me, the Hermit card tells me that you're coming into the stage of your healing where you're like the little caterpillar that's gone out into the world and gathered everything it needs to gather. You have all your information, you have all your knowledge, you've chowed down on it, you're nice and full, and now is the time to just go into the little cocoon and rest. And it's in that time of rest, that quiet non-action, that the magic happens. That little caterpillar is just simply resting, and in that process, the wings begin to grow, the wings begin to come out, and it transforms into that butterfly. So, as I said, a lot of the Aries that I know, you guys are very ambitious. Very ambitious. You go after what you want. The ones that I know anyway. Some of you might say, well, I'm not like that, and that's fine. I'm not saying you have to be that way. But some of you, and I'm feeling this in the energy, you have these really big goals that these are all the things that I'm going to accomplish because I'm healed. And I'm going to know that I'm healed. And I'm going to know I'm high vibration when I have accomplished all these things. And Spirit is saying, child, give yourself a moment to be still. Give yourself a moment to take in where you are now and what you've accomplished. And in that quiet, in that rest, in that time of rest, embrace the transformation. Your wings are coming out. Your wings are sprouting. But you need to let yourself rest so that that can happen. You need to go a little easy on yourself here. You might be pushing a little too hard, some of you. Your next card coming up here, my darlings, is the moon. Holy cannoli. I just got chills. Now, we have all these major arcana cards coming in back to back. Pow, pow, pow. Boom, boom, boom. So, massive shift this week for Aries. Massive, massive shift. And those of you that you've been following me for a while, that you've been with me for a long time, you have probably heard me say this in the past. When I'm reading for somebody and we're approaching a new moon or a full moon and I get the moon card, or if I'm working with an oracle deck and I get a card with a moon on it, it tells me you're going to be very sensitive to that moon energy. And we're transitioning here towards the end of the week as we're coming in through the readings. So this tells me very loudly, very clearly, confirming for me, Aries, my suspicions are being confirmed here, that a lot of you are going to be sensitive to this moon energy. When I say sensitive to it, you might be feeling a little bit more emotional, some of you. Sometimes you can feel overly energized. That happens too. You might feel like this burst of energy where you're wanting to clean and organize and kind of like, simplify your surroundings as you're being influenced by that moon energy. And sometimes it can just be by being very tired. And some of you might be very tired. You might be like, man, why am I being so lazy? You're not being lazy. Don't put a label on it. Anytime we're releasing, anytime our energy is shifting, and you have massive shifting happening here, you will feel physical release. It's like your cells in your body are feeling that process. And so you're going to need to go easy on yourself, Aries. Give yourself time to rest. Don't push yourself too hard. Some of you might have negative ego coming to the surface as you're heading towards these big shifts and changes that wants to tell you, oh, Aries, you're not nothing. Like, who cares? This isn't a big accomplishment. It's not a big deal that you did this. It's not a big deal that you did that. The negative ego hates change. And the closer you are to a massive shift, a massive breakthrough, the louder the negative ego becomes. Okay? Even when it's a good change. It doesn't matter if it's a good change. Negative ego hates change. And it's going to do whatever it can to keep you from reaching, to keep you from trying. So some of you might have fears coming to the surface. Okay? Use this to your advantage. When you try to tell yourself, oh, don't be scared, don't be scared, don't be scared, what happens? It gets worse, right? It magnifies. So, okay, here are some fears. All right, is this a logical fear or is this an irrational fear? If it's an irrational fear, we can let it go. We can surrender it. We don't have to worry about it. We can reason our way through it. If it's a logical fear, if it's rational, if it could happen, okay, here's a situation that is real. Here is a fear that could actually come true. What are some steps that I can take to prevent this situation from happening? And plan B, what are some steps that I can take to have a backup plan or a safety net in case it happens anyway, right? Like I'm gonna try to prevent it. So here's the plan to prevent it, but here's the backup plan in case preventing it doesn't work and it happens anyway. How might I get through it? How might I get by it? And maybe you want to have a plan C, a plan D. Maybe you want to go through the whole alphabet. By all means, my darlings, feel free. But don't be a prisoner to that fear. Sometimes if we work with something a little bit, it loses the power that it has over us. I also feel here with the moon energy, you're going to feel an increase in intuition. A lot of you have been working really hard to manifest this, especially having the moon come in with the hermit. Some of you are wanting to do spiritual work. You're wanting to do healing, or you're wanting to do tarot or psychic readings. And so the path is opening up. The doors are opening up. There's a massive shift here. And the doors are opening to the things you've been wanting to manifest. But these major arcana cards coming in back to back tell us that these are massive changes happening in a short period of time. Now, your next card coming up here, Aries, is the Five of Swords, the only card in the deck that's not a major arcana, but it sure does pack a punch. It's not a mild little card. Okay, so the Five of Swords is going to come up in two different ways for you guys, depending on your journey and depending on your situation. For some of you, the Five of Swords it's becoming very, very clear where these unnecessary sacrifices have been, and who needs to go, right? Aries, some of you are like, you made me do it. I tried to be patient. I tried to be understanding, but you're forcing me to burn this bridge, and I'm going to have to do it, right? I tried to be reasonable. I tried to make peace. I tried to do this in a high vibrational way, but you're not leaving me any option. You're going to have to go. Okay, some of you might even have somebody coming in and making a scene, and they want to be the tower moment. They want to come in and like be this big bad wolf, like they're showing up to like blow the house down. But I feel like, Aries, you're just looking at it like this is like, I'm embarrassed for you. I'm sad for you. Like I'm cringing on your behalf right now, right? You might not say this to this person, but you're realizing that they're not getting it through their head. They keep coming with drama. They keep presenting themselves with drama. It could be in a work situation. It could be a family situation. It could be, for some of you, an ex or somebody you've been trying to co-parent with, or you've been trying to be, you feel bad for them. You're trying to be friends with them because you realize they have traumas and they're on their path, or whatever it might be. But I feel some of you feel like this person's coming in and they're trying desperately to create this chaotic tower moment. And it's just basically this sad little hissy fit, this sad little tantrum. And so you guys are just looking at this like, wow, okay, all right, you're not leaving me any choice. We can't do this anymore, right? And so some of you might be doing this. Some of you might be doing it in very official way, to where maybe you're getting rid of social media, or you're full on blocking certain people, or you're changing your phone number, or maybe some of you are deciding to move, right? Some of you might be taking these kinds of steps, but overall I just feel like you know who you're cutting off contact with. For other ones of you, the Five of Swords is coming up with the energy of you're starting to take these big steps. Your wings are growing, and you're beginning to feel those wings sprout. And you're getting over your fear, and you're starting to feel good about yourself. And you're approaching this, time to just kind of take off, right? To just kind of fly and flutter away. And unfortunately, it happens to all of us. God knows it's happened to me. And it will happen as you come to different stages of advancement on your journey. You're going to have certain people that they see you getting this confidence. They see this light about you. And either they're terrified of losing you, or they are just flat out bitter, jealous people, and they want to stomp out that growth. They want to keep you from rising up. And so they see you getting this confidence. They see you taking these big steps towards these big changes. And they want to come in and they want to make you feel like you shouldn't believe in yourself. They might say things or do things to intentionally trigger you, to make you feel insecure, or to make you feel as though you're being unreasonable or selfish in some kind of way. They know where your buttons are. They know which buttons to push to get you to do what they want you to do. And so, unfortunately, some of you are dealing with somebody who's coming in and triggering you, making you feel insecure, or making you feel hopeless again. When this happens, if you are able to take a step aside and not react, don't engage with this person. If you're able to take a step aside and write it out, start writing it down. What happened? Who was involved? What did they say or do? How did it make you feel about yourself, your life, this situation? Going as far back as you can remember, who has made you feel this way before? Who said or did things in your earlier life that made you feel this way? What did they do? Why do you think they're doing this to you? Why do you think they're saying these things and doing these things? Why do you think they're trying to get you to feel this way? And then write out anything you want to forgive yourself for. Maybe you're like, well, I wish I didn't get upset, or I wish I hadn't gone off, or I wish I hadn't believed this person, or I wish I would have seen through them sooner, or whatever it is you're beating yourself up about. Write out a forgiveness to yourself. Release yourself from the situation. Write out a forgiveness to these people that have made you feel this way. Just kind of release them from expectation, right? They're not coming in with the right support. They're not coming in with the right kind of attitude or energy. And it sucks, but you're going to get it somewhere else. God, angels, universe, your guides are going to see to that. Just because they don't want to give you the support that you need, it doesn't mean you're not going to get it elsewhere. Just because they don't want to give you the love the way that you need to get it, it doesn't mean you're not going to get it elsewhere. Remind yourself of this. Release them of the expectation. Write out a forgiveness to them. And then write out at the end how you're choosing to feel about yourself and about the situation from now on. If you can take the time to do this little exercise, all of those little triggers, all of those little buttons are going to be deactivated. They can look for those buttons and they can push and push and push all they want. It's not going to have any power over you anymore because they're no longer active. So these are the two ways the Five of Swords is going to come in, right? But this is a big shift and a massive release. And this is a big life change for a lot of you. You may want to check out the 2022 12-month forecasts I did. Those are linked in the description as well. If you would like a private reading, you could schedule at calendly.com/amethystangelite. I thank you all for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I'm wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. Take care, my dears, and a happy